Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about hypoglycemia as well as sharing some funny hypo stories because I had to suffer through them, so you might as well laugh at them. First off, what is a hypo? A hypo, or if you want to be fancy, a hypoglycemic episode, is what is known as when your blood sugar falls below 4.0 millimol or 72 mgdl. The mgdl number always confuses me because I personally use millimoles, which is mmOLs. It seems to be like an American rest of Europe thing that uses mgdl. So for reference, if I talk about numbers, I'm talking about mmOLs. So there are a lot of different symptoms of a hypo, such as being sweaty, shaky, very pale, looking drunk, confusion, heart palpitations, blurry vision, mood swings, being tired, being hungry, having a sensation of pins and needles in your mouth, and being really anxious. So for me personally, my hypo symptoms are I get really shaky, I get sweaty, and I get a tingly kind of, feels like static in my mouth, but it gets to my tongue, like my throat and the tip of my tongue and my lips. You get really cold because your body on a low starts going into self-preservation mode, like survival mode, and it starts to draw heat away from your extremities. So you'll get really cold, and then you will get really, really uncomfortably warm, like you're heating up from the inside, which is where the sweaty feeling comes from. For me, I also feel as if I've kind of taken a step back out of my body, which is really weird. It's kind of it's not out of body experience, but it's like, this is my body and this is where my brain usually is, like right beside it, but on a low my brain just has taken a wee step back. So I'm like functioning enough that I can like get hypo treatment, but my brain's like kind of doing an impression of like one of those like wiggly worm things at a fairground ride, and weirdly I can feel my brain switch into hypo mode, as I call it. Like there's actually, you're sitting in your room doing something and then you can look up and be like, I'm low, because you can feel your brain switch into a low, which is really, really a funky feeling. I don't know how else to describe it, as if it feels as if something has flipped a switch. My friend Hannah, also aka Diabetes Aware, has done a video on hypos herself, so I'm going to link that down below because it's a great video and probably well more put together than this one is, but I'm here for the funky story time. There are different types of hypo response. So those hypo symptoms that I've just shared with you, they can be categorized under different responses, such as, I think it's pronounced autonomic, which is like the shaking, like your physical factors. There is the neuroglycopenic responses, which is like your brain, so like the confusion and all that. And then there are non-specific responses like headaches, nausea, those kind of things. Also, your symptoms may change as you get older. You may gain more symptoms, where like such as I gained the feeling of a switch and stepping out of my body. As weird as that sounds, but some of your symptoms may just change. For example, I don't get as shaky anymore. I don't really get as outwardly like sweaty, but those are just my like autonomic ones changing to like lessen. Like I still do have shaky and sweaty symptoms. They're just kind of like less visible as they used to be. So on a low, your kind of cognitive functioning kind of drops down and like doesn't work, which is like generally happens in like, could happen in stress situations, a lot of the time it happens around water, because your body temp drops to match the water temperature. And if you've ever been to a swimming pool in Northern Ireland, none of them are warm. Like, they're always cold, so your body drops to match that cold, which means your blood sugar also drops to match that cold, which is always a fun time, and I've got a few stories of that which I'll tell you later. So what causes a hypo? There are many different things that impact on blood sugar. Now, this list here isn't all encompassing. This is just some of the factors. Like, there are way more. Like, apparently phase of the moon is a thing. There's a ton of reasons and impacts, and you may never discover all of them. So some causes can be if you pre-bolus for your food too early, and your insulin just kicks in too fast, drinking on an empty stomach, alcohol in general, like it will spike your blood sugar and then crash it if you're not careful. Exercising, that can, and also fun fact, exercise can cause you to go low 6 to 8 hours after you've finished exercising. So you think you're out of the park, you think you've managed it, and then suddenly a low, and you're like, why? And you realise it's because you exercised earlier. It could be down to human error, such as you miscalculated your dose, or it could be you haven't finished your food or something. It could be you haven't finished the food you carb counted for, which means there's extra insulin in your body but you're not hungry enough to eat all of the carbs. Could even be like food has been labelled wrong, so a food has been labelled with more carbohydrates than there actually is, which I've had happen to me a few times. It could be your period, like ladies, anyone who identifies as female, could be your period because the hormones mess up around them. So how do you treat a hypo? So generally, when you're hypo, if you're on a Libra, which is the flash glucose monitor that I have on my arm sitting there, if you scan it for like official guidelines, if you have a hypo or a high blood sugar, you should follow that up with a physical blood test on your monitor. So once you've confirmed what your blood sugar is, you then will take 15 to 20 grams of fast-acting glucose. So things like a juice box, which Hannah got me into because she takes juice boxes and they are cheaper than Lucozade. Speaking of, you can use Lucozade as well. You can use things like Skittles, like a small portion of like 5 of them. Same with jelly beans. As long as it contains 15 to 20 grams of fast-acting glucose, you can use it. However, it is really easy to overtreat because when you're on a low, your brain just wants to treat that as fast as possible. So you just like eat everything in the fridge. Like, there's a running joke that like diabetics eat the kitchen when they're treating a low, and then that rebounds into a high blood sugar, and then you correct that and then you go into a low again, and it's a whole process. There's also glucojuice and glucotabs, but glucotabs taste like chalk with a tiny bit of flavouring in them, so you try not to treat with those. And there is also glucogel, but that is mainly used if you're kind of unresponsive and kind of not able to swallow anything. Someone will have to like squirt it into your cheeks and massage it in to treat that low until you become responsive again. In severe cases, there is also something called a glycogen injection. It comes in this funky box. That glycogen is generally saved for if someone's unconscious. You would kind of mix it up, administer it to a fatty region, generally in the backside, and that will bring up the blood sugar. Call an ambulance if you have to use the glycogen, because first of all, from experience I can tell you that glycogen makes you very sick and tired and non-functional, so call an ambulance. So after you've treated a low, follow up with slow acting carbohydrate, like such as a digestive biscuit or something, because snacks keep it level, just to make sure it doesn't rebound back into a low again. So the fun thing is with a low, lows are like annoying enough to deal with, but when you are someone who drives with diabetes, you have to be a bit more vigilant with your blood sugars. Ideally you need to be above 6.8 before you start driving, because apparently driving stresses you out enough unconsciously that your blood sugars drop. So if you go hypo while driving, what you need to do is you are meant to pull over in the safe spot. You need to get out of your car, get into the passenger seat, sit in the passenger seat, turn off the car, take the keys out, place them somewhere, make sure it shows that you have absolutely no intention of driving. You treat your low after your blood sugar has come up, and make sure you have these all proved with blood checks and not just scans. You have to then wait another 45 minutes for your blood sugar to fully come up, because that is when your cognitive function kicks back in. So you have to make sure your brain is functioning before you can drive. And say if a policeman pulls you over or something, if you haven't waited that 45 minutes after a low treatment, you can be charged with driving under the influence, because hypo brain is actually drunk brain. Like, it's the same kind of reaction in your brain as when you're drunk, just without the fun part of getting there. So hypo brain is drunk brain is the big takeaway here. The longer you have diabetes is you may experience hypo unawareness, which is when you stop being able to tell if you are hypo, which means like you don't recognize your symptoms, like you don't feel them or anything. And that can be dangerous, as it means you may not be able to treat the low fast enough, you fall unconscious, and in severe cases you can slip into a coma. But you can regain your hypo awareness back. So hypos can be quite dangerous. For example, like there is a huge mental health aspect to low blood sugars. A lot of diabetics I know will prefer to go low rather than high, because lows are generally faster to treat. But having low blood sugars, especially if there's a scary experience, can lead to something called hypoanxiety, when you begin to get really scared that you're going to go low, and that means that people may run their blood sugars high so that they don't go low. Also kind of linked to the kind of hypoanxiety is also a lot of it is fear of going hypo during the night. Luckily sometimes your body will wake you up when you're low, like it'll release adrenaline to wake your body up so that you can treat it, because going low during the night has actually led to something called dead in bed syndrome, and it is thought to account for around 6% of deaths in type 1 diabetics under 40. It's caused by nighttime hypos, which trigger disturbances in the heart rhythm or damage to the nerves that control the functioning of the heart. There's been so many stories of just people of diabetics who went to bed one night and just never woke up. And that is the sobering reality of diabetes, is that a lot of us joke about it a lot of the time, but it's because if we didn't joke about it, we cry about it, because it's serious. We can have so many complications. Like, the first thing is we're scaremongered with scare tactics, and we are kind of scared into looking after our diabetes because we are constantly told of the complications that we have, that we could lose our eyesight, like we could go blind, we could lose a limb to gangrene because our blood sugars are out of control, we could have heart failure, we could have stroke, we could have so many things, and that kind of adds to the anxiety around your blood sugars. And diabetes is tough enough without being scared of your blood sugars and scared of your diabetes, because of like the combination of these things, and simply just because of diabetes, and the fact of I moved up to Belfast for university and stayed up here to work for a bit. Me and my mum developed a system so that she could check up on me in case something happened. So every night before I went to bed, I would text her good night, tell her what my blood sugar is, and if it was low, I would eat a snack and tell her I've eaten a snack. And then in the morning when I woke up, I would also send her a text and tell her what my blood sugar was then. And even nowadays when she's at work on, like, say, the night shift, I will still text her when I wake up and when I'm going to bed with what my blood sugar is. It's like a routine at this point, and it makes both of us feel a lot safer and happier because she knows how my blood sugars are doing, and I know that I at least have her to rely on if something goes wrong, because my mother is someone I rely on a lot with my blood sugars and with my diabetes. So that's the kind of factual things about hypos, and again, check out Hannah's video for more information on that. But I'm going to move on to some funny stories about what have happened to me on hypos, because like they're entertaining looking back at them. So one thing I've discovered is that when I have nighttime lows, I do something called hypobabble, which is when I can have full-on conversations and not realize them and not remember them the next morning. And like, it's always funny when my mother tells me about them afterwards, because I've not realized, I've not remembered any of these, and they don't even make sense. Like, one time I had just I just swanned out of my room, like drank Lucid, was on the way back, and my mum had gotten up because she had like, this was like maybe like 3 a.m. My mother had heard me leave my room, and she was asking if I was okay, and apparently I was determined to like get downstairs, and my mum was like, why, go back to bed? And I was like, because Shona's been abducted by giant ducks. I was convinced giant ducks had abducted my sister. I don't know how, don't know why, didn't remember it the next day, but there we go. There was one time that I was having a hypo on the 261 down home, and it was about an hour into the journey, and I had a low, forgotten to pack hypo treatment or something, or I'd ran out, or I had some and it wasn't enough to treat my blood sugar, or it was cold and wasn't treating it. There's something I can't fully remember why I didn't have enough hypo treatment. But like that day, I had gotten my mother like some chocolates just randomly because I thought she deserved them and like she should have chocolates. And my mum didn't know that I'd gotten her these chocolates. And I was like, I'm out of hypo treatment. I have nothing sugary in my bag. And I was like, actually I do, but they're Mum's. And after debating for like 5 minutes in my head, I called my mum up and went, hi Mum, quick question. You don't know this, but I bought you chocolates, but I'm having a low right now, and I was wondering, do I have permission to eat some of the chocolates to treat my hypo? And I was like, of course you can. And me ruining the surprise because I was low and I needed something to eat. And finally, again, an experience with the swimming pool. We were down south at a like leisure complex thing, and again, come out of the swimming pool, and I was like looking after my little brother while my mum was getting dressed, and I come out of the pool with him, but like I was dazed and like knew that I was low. I could feel it in my brain. I was trying to get to my locker to like open it up and get my Lucozade, but like someone else on the trip had seen me looking like really dazed, and my mum had like come out and found us, and I was made to like sit down on like a seat in a changing cubicle, and I was just like, my locker, sugar. I couldn't form like proper sentences, like as general low I can't articulate very well, so I was just like, locker, sugar. And this woman got my mum, and my mum came in, she's like, what's up Ollie? And I'm like, hypo. She's like, where's your hypo treatment? I was like, locker, because there wasn't a place I felt safe leaving my Lucozade out on like poolside because there's too many people. It was too big. The place was too big, and I was like, I can't leave my hypo treatment out here somewhere. So my mum instead of like getting my locker key from my wrist to open my locker, my mother decides that she's going to go to the vending machines and buy me Coke. My mother heads out, not realising she's only half dressed, out to the vending machines in her top and knickers, only to find she's like 20 cents short. So she gets a run, she like grabs a hold of a random, like she like gestures to this random man going like, I need 20 cents to get Coke. And I got treated, and it was only like after my mum had given me the Coke and I'd like started drinking that she realised that she hadn't put her trousers on yet. There is never a dull moment with me when there's low. So that's my video. Thank you all for watching, and if you have any hypo stories, leave them down below. I will link Hannah's video down. If you have any other video suggestions, again, leave them down below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!